I think we're going. I think we're on.
Scarlett Johansson's boobies.
That's what we're starting with. That's what we're starting with.
Yeah.
That is very unprogressive of you, and I'm.
Yeah, that's what you sounded like a second ago, you pervert. So.
All right. Well, we should at some point. I need to start hitting record when the guys still think we're doing like pre-show banter, because some of the stuff that you listeners miss out on is amazing.
What pre-show?
But
I just joined. We're professional.
Actually, join our Patreon, and you get to hear all the pre-show stuff.
It's on our TikTok.
That will never see the light of day.
By the way, our Patreon is just Kyle's Cash App username. So just send him. He just wants
to send it directly to me. I'll filter it right back into the show. I promise.
Yeah. This show is brought to you by Cash App. No, wait, just Kyle's Cash App.
Just Kyle's account. That's weird. It says Kyle 69. This seems weird, but all right.
It's just a
hey, it's 14 years old, guys. Come on.
Well, this is episode 71, believe it or not, of the Current Gen podcast, not of whatever else was going on just now. But before we get into our show, because I've got Kyle here, Jeff's here, Dan's here, my name's Tim, Derek's off this week. Before we jump into headlines and stuff we want to talk about, we're actually spinning up something new. I'm pretty excited about it, and Dan's taking the lead on this, so I'll throw it to him to tell you what is happening.
Dan's ready to fly the coop. I don't need Dad anymore. I'm doing my own thing. Screw you, Dad. No. So I love Final Fantasy, in case people didn't know that. And I thought it would be fun to have a separate show to do more Final Fantasy things, in case everyone's kind of tired on this show to discuss Final Fantasy things. So it's going to be called Chocobo Central. It's going to, the center of all Final Fantasy things is going to focus on this show. I get it. Chocobo the center. And I already recorded the first episode, actually, with my friend Brandon, who was with me on the Chocobro show that we did. And yeah, it's just going to primarily focus on Final Fantasy. But, if there's another RPG that I'm like super passionate about and feel like doing something about it, I'll do that too. But it will focus primarily on Final Fantasy. And the format will be different. Like, the first episode is going to be like a podcast. The next episode might be like a short form thing. So it's not always going to be like, structured like a podcast. It might be something else. And then the episode after that might be a podcast again. So it's just going to be kind of whatever my mood is and what I feel like throwing out there. Or if you guys, like I said, if you want to discuss anything specific or shoot the shit or talk shit, because Jeff looks like he has sassy things to say about something Final Fantasy.
I have nothing negative to say the whole podcast. I'm going to be completely...
Oh...
So,
right,
yeah.
We're going to see if Jeff can make it the entire show with nothing negative to say. And that's including talking about the Sony State of Play. So that'll be interesting to hear him navigate that one.
Oh, I'm glad I watched that. Good.
All right. So, Dan, when is the first one going to be released, or do you not have a date yet?
After this episode, I'm still editing it, but Brandon is just putting the finishing touches on the logo. He's just been really busy the past couple of days, so he's like, "I'm so sorry, man." I'm like, "Hey, it's not a big deal. This isn't like my real job. Otherwise, I'd be furious." So, but yeah, I'm hoping probably no later than next Friday. So
nice.
But I'm thinking sometime this week.
You guys doing a weekly thing? You thinking a couple times a month? What do you guys?
The thing is with Final Fantasy news, it's either like. It's like once in a while, or sometimes it's a good stream of news. So that's kind of why like I feel like the structure of it isn't always going to be a podcast either. If I want to just do something really short to kind of be like, something super important, but like I don't have like an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of information to discuss, then kind of do something short. So
gotcha.
But yeah, so
nice.
Yeah.
So be sure to keep your eyes out for that one, guys. You'll see stuff from it on our YouTube channel as well as on our Facebook on our Facebook page. So make sure you check that stuff out.
And Kyle and I are starting a Mass Effect podcast.
Hey,
this is the first time hearing of it, and I've never been so excited in my entire life. So.
Hey, you need to have me on as a guest, as a longtime Mass Effect ignorer who is finally playing through the first game, and I'm enjoying it.
Dude, I'm so glad you're in my boat.
Yeah.
Because I'm still in Andromeda right now. I'm just so glad you're in my boat because I beat.
I always ignored it. I finally played Andromeda. I don't know why. I had started Mass Effect 1 2 separate times, and both times the combat was just like, I don't know if I can do this for 40 hours or however.
Even when it came out, that combat was bad. So.
Yeah, or however long this game's going to be, I was just like, I don't want to commit to this. Like story
like 28, 30 hours.
I was just like, I don't want to do this. But the combat is improved. I still don't love it, but I'm looking forward to finally really playing the second and third ones after I beat the first.
They do get better. They do get better.
So,
I was actually wowed by how well 3 played. I was like, it played this well, like this long.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
All right, well, let's jump into some headlines outside, of course, the most important headline, which is Chocobo Central. By the way, are Chocobos in every Final Fantasy entry? Is there any Final Fantasy entry that does not have Chocobos?
I believe Chocobos were introduced in the second Final Fantasy. Could be third. I'm pretty sure it's second. So I guess the first one didn't. So their creation was born from within the second Final Fantasy.
Got it. What about Moogles? Anybody know that one?
Well, I mean, Mog was an actual playable character in 6.
In 6, yeah. And he could leave your party and then go back and get him.
Yeah, but as far as
I thought you were mispronouncing Muggles in Harry Potter.
No,
save it for the Harry Potter podcast.
Oh yeah, that's a different one. That's coming.
We got a lot of spin-offs coming your way.
Hotheads coming soon.
All right,
and we have no budget for this.
Let's talk about some Nintendo news. Nintendo finally has officially announced the OLED model of the Switch, which comes out this October for $350, which if you're keeping track, that's $50 more than the regular model. That's $150 more than the Switch Lite. What you get if you buy this model is a bigger and better screen, of course. You'll get a new kickstand, which if you look at the video of it or the pictures of it, it actually does look like a much better kickstand. If you like tabletop mode, it actually goes across the entire back of that unit and kind of leans out, and it's adjustable, so it just looks sturdier. They're going to have a direct LAN Ethernet connection right into the charging base. You don't have to buy an adapter, which you currently have to buy. They're increasing the internal storage to 64 gigabytes. I forget what it was before. I think that's double.
32.
Okay.
It's 32. Yeah.
So it's double.
So it's still not very much, but it's something. They're claiming to have an enhanced audio in handheld and in tabletop mode, of course. And of course, the new white Joy-Con, they're really white and black because the buttons are black and the sticks are black.
The PlayStation 5 edition.
It really looks very PS5 inspired. It's white Joy-Cons and base. The first time we've had a official base or charging base release that's going to have a different color than black. Nothing that we know of, and it's actually been confirmed since then, that there's no performance or battery life or really any kind of inner workings of the machine improvements.
The Pro was a lie.
Yeah, it's not a Pro.
A lie.
It's I mean, they're calling it the OLED model because that's what it is. You're getting a better screen. Some of the early impressions I've heard of this from various outlets is basically that the screen looks nice. It's bigger, of course. Everything kind of looks the same. It's just slightly bigger. It's kind of what you would imagine, and it's a heavier unit too. So if you play in handheld mode a lot, it's heavier than the previous one.
That was the reason I switched to the Lite, because of how heavy the regular Switch was. So that's surprising to hear that it's heavier.
I'm seeing a lot of folks saying hey, this is actually this. If you don't have a Switch and you're finally going to jump in this holiday season, this is the way to go. But if you already have one, it's a little difficult to find reasons to swap and trade in and upgrade because there's not really much of an upgrade. If you're just playing in handheld mode, I don't know why you wouldn't just have a Lite. $200, you can have an awesome handheld system. So I don't know. This is not bad in my opinion. It's just not exciting, and I have no real interest in it.
It's a typical Nintendo thing, because I mean, again, when these systems come out, the technology is already at least a couple of years old, and this is like a handheld console hybrid, so the machine itself was already sort of slightly behind last gen. So here we are now in this other generation, and it's the disparity between the Switch and these current new machines is just going to get wider. So
Do we know how much better the screen is allegedly?
Resolution-wise, still going to be 1080p, 720p.
It's just brighter and more vibrant, right?
Yeah, it's just an OLED. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is going to look great.
Yeah.
So it's a 720p handheld screen, and it can project up to 1080p when docked. Same as before.
Oh yeah, never mind. There's no point then. All right.
There's no
there's truly no performance of any kind that's being improved. It's just a slightly bigger screen, maybe perhaps a clearer screen.
And OLEDs are. Kyle, you have an OLED now too.
Yeah.
Those TVs are freaking heavy. So
imagining
that just a little bit of that as a handheld.
That's a good comparison. Yeah.
It's gonna be like.
Yeah.
No.
It's so weird because it sounds like all the upgrades are in the handheld screen, but they have a whole light, they have a whole light line. So like, what? I don't know who this is for. I guess like because
Yeah.
are people who are playing
play
on the go
Switches.
supposed to buy this one, or are they supposed to buy the light? Because the light
question.
is obviously more a little
I think-
geared. Just weird.
I
to
think
me.
it's more for. I think it's going to be for people who do prefer to play portable, but then if you do on the off chance, or just like I'm feeling lazy and I just want to dock it and play it on the TV for a little bit. But it seems like it's definitely leaning a bit more towards portable. But then it's like then you could save money with the other one. But then this does have the like better screen, so it's like. I don't know.
And ultimately,
it's a luxury item.
Like Tim said,
is.
like it's probably just the best choice for newcomers, like people who don't have a Switch. This is probably the best version.
I think the white base and the white Joy-Cons look pretty cool. Like I like that look. I think it would look nice up on the entertainment unit.
It'll match all the new gen consoles.
It would. It just won't perform like one. But I do like. I do think I know this sounds dumb because most people are just like, well, I just bought an adapter, so it was fine. But having the Ethernet connection go right into the charging base, the reason why I think that's at least it's worth noting as a positive because they have so many cloud versions of games coming to Switch right now. And so at the very least, that's going to help with that experience if you're doing cloud-based gaming for Control or for the upcoming there was a game that's coming out that's cloud-based for Switch and I'm blanking out on a big one. Anyway, there's a bunch of them. And so yeah, I think that's a small positive. I'm not that excited for this. Thankfully, Kyle, you and I will not have to go through the heartbreak of not finding one of these things for.
If the second I thought this was going to be like Switch 2 or something, I was hyperventilating. So,
side note, you can buy the dock separately if you want.
I'm in. Yeah, that's cool.
Which is cool because again, it's the same exact technology, so it'll work with your old Switch. All right, Netflix no longer supported on Wii U and 3DS as of last week, so. If you were watching Netflix on those devices, you can't anymore. Which the only reason that's of note.
I didn't know they were on them.
The only reason that's of note to me, because you're right, I don't think anyone is still watching Netflix on either of those devices. Not very many people, at least. But that means there's currently no Nintendo device that supports Netflix. So
that's such a weird.
Interesting.
Nintendo gun Nintendo sometimes, I guess.
It's so weird.
Great job, Nintendo. You did it. You got rid of Netflix. I don't know.
Even Hulu is on the Switch. Like they randomly have Hulu on there, but like now Netflix has just ceased to exist on any Nintendo.
Was there bad blood at some point? Like
why? Well, I know the statement from Netflix in some kind of interview or podcast or something was basically, we can't give you all the details on that, but it's not because of us.
So yes, there's some bad blood there.
I think it's Nintendo. There's something with Nintendo. They won't pay the fee or whatever the thing is that they're supposed to do to get Netflix. They're not doing it. So
that literally everybody else pays.
Which it doesn't bother me at all. I do all my TV watching on my phone.
I would never run Netflix through my Switch. So
that'd be dumb.
My phone does all that stuff for me. Like my phone has become my go-to for any kind of portable viewing is all on the phone.
Sure. Yeah.
PlayStation Now is getting some really cool updates this month. They're actually already there. So if you subscribe to PlayStation Now or are considering it, Red Dead Redemption 2 is now on the service. The sad news there is it's going to be removed on November 1st. So you've got a few months to play it there. Same thing with Judgment. They added that, but that's going to be removed October 4th. So you can get some summer and early fall gaming in on those two games on PS Now service. Neo 2, NASCAR Heat 5, Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, God of War, the reboot, of course, in 2018, and Moving Out are all joining the service as well. I mean, honestly, Sony just needs to make this a download and play service, and I'll be interested. Like as soon as they get away from, for all their titles.
Sure. I was gonna say, I think a majority of the PS4 ones are downloadable, so at least there's that. But I mean, they should have their whole catalog on there. That would be what they compete with Game Pass, right?
They need to make it like impossible to ignore because it's so awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, if they put their whole catalog on there and even charge like $20 a month, I'd have a hard time saying no. Like I'd at least subscribe for a little bit to go back and play some stuff.
20 would be hefty per month, though.
It would be a lot per month. Wouldn't you at least give it a try? I don't know. I'd at least give it a try.
If there was like certain things that I'm like, oh man, like this random PS1, like I don't know, like I have Legend of Dragoon, but I have the actual original one, but like I don't have a PS1 to play it on or a PS2, so playing that again, I'd be like, sure,
I'm in.
For a month.
If you're bringing Legend of Dragoon to like PS whatever, I'm in. Like I'll pay whatever money. So
absolutely, give us a sequel, damn it.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to Game Pass updates. We talked about PS Now, the lesser service. Sorry, Dan. And now I'll talk about Game Pass, the service that's actually worth your money. Game Pass.
This is rude.
Game Pass has a few games leaving the service this month. You've got EA Sports, UFC, and UFC 2 leaving. That's just because they're leaving EA Play, which you have access to if you've got Game Pass Ultimate. On July 15th, you've got Endless Space 2, Downwell, and Crosscode all leaving. So make sure you guys tell Derek. I know he plays those games a lot, probably.
Those games are dumb. We're getting Red Dead Redemption 2.
Seem
Suck
like
it.
6, 7 out of 10 games that Derek would just.
They're adding. I know they're adding a few major ones though to the cloud service specifically this month, and then a few to all the versions of Game Pass. But Dragon Quest Builders 2 is going to be added to cloud alongside the Medium this month. So both of those will now be streamable if you try that cloud service. I didn't have a lot of success. I've tried it on my computer. It worked fine. Tried it on my phone. It did not work all that great. I've got an iPhone, so we'll see if they improve that over time. They're adding Tropico 6. It's already on the console and PC, as well as through the cloud. UFC 4 will be on the console version of Game Pass. Blood Roots coming to all three, and Farming Simulator coming to all three next week. So
I have Blood Roots on my Switch.
And
I haven't played it yet. It's one of those games that's like downloaded and I haven't touched it yet.
Yeah,
it's been downloaded for months.
Got a couple of those. They did announce that they've got major plans to expand Game Pass by creating their own Xbox-branded streaming devices, launching the service in more markets, working with TV manufacturers. So think about like your Vizio smart TV that you might buy, and then you've got all your built-in apps. And what if you saw Xbox right there as one of them?
See, right there. I wouldn't even need to buy an Xbox. I just download the app and play it on my TV.
That's actually kind of brilliant, but also defeats the purpose of owning a console. So
sure, it does, but Xbox, I feel like Xbox has made it clear from the early get-go that part of it could be, hey, we're already losing a lot, so let's change our approach. That could be it. But it seems like they've never really prioritized being the biggest seller of the consoles. It's been all about, let's get their subscriptions, make our platform outside, whether they're on the console or not, let's make our platform, the Game Pass platform, so important that they have to have it.
Yeah, Sony needs the numbers console wise because they have their exclusives, and the exclusives are what pushes their machines. Whereas Microsoft, just for them, it's just like a bombardment of numbers. It's just a numbers game to them. So the more people they get on that platform, it's just better for them, you know.
It's interesting. They can't compete with Sony on hardware sales, and they can't compete with Nintendo on software sales. So they're going a very different route, and I think
they're going the Netflix route of
pretty
just
smart.
Burning through money and hoping subscriptions add up.
It seems like it's working.
Seems like to me.
It seems like it's working though, man.
It's gonna
working so far.
It's gonna get me. It's gonna get me. So
yeah,
it'll happen. We had a Sony State of Play this week, aired on Thursday, July 8th, and to their credit, they told us what was going to be on the show. So no one would be like, finally a Horizon release date, or a God of War gameplay clip, or fill in the blank. They were like, nope, here's what you're going to see. They said it like 2 days before it even aired. You're going to see about 9 to 10 minutes of Deathloop extended gameplay, and then about 20 minutes or so of third-party and indie titles. So, and we're not going to talk about God of War or Horizon Forbidden West. They told everyone straight up. So it does help set the expectations a bit for a show like this.
That's fair.
So I did
expect them being open about it instead of everybody getting
nice transparency, Sony. Good job.
Yeah, which allowed me to then not rush to watch it. I didn't watch it till like later.
Later that
night.
I watched it like an hour or two late. Which
I watched it like 2 hours ago because I only watched the Sifu trailer. That was like what I was most excited for. Right away, I watched Sifu. Yeah. And then I watched the rest of the show literally 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't feel.
It's one of those things where it's like, you could call it underwhelming, I guess, but not if you think about how they set the expectations. It kind of hit right where I expected it to, expectation-wise. So I'll just go through the announcements real quick. Moss Book 2 is announced. They're going to, of course, work on that for PSVR. That was what I thought was one of the more charming games that came out that year. I think that was 2018, maybe. I can't remember what year that was, but it was a pretty charming little game. One of my favorite VR experiences outside of Astrobot. I thought it was really good. Book 2, I don't know why. Maybe it was my connection was slow, but it just didn't look that good to me. But maybe the other one looked like this too. I think
it did.
I felt like it looked way better, but it's probably just.
I mean, this is also maybe just still being worked on, so it's not fully polished either. So
yeah, but I think that game's a great game. It's very charming. It's very very cool. So that's coming out. They didn't say when, of course, just in development. Arcade Geddon It's basically to me, it looked like Fortnite in space. It's kind of a third-person action shooter. I assume there's multiplayer involved here. It looked like there was, at least. I gotta be honest, I didn't take super detailed notes because I may or may not have skimmed through some of these. Okay, guys.
It didn't look super interesting. It kind of looked like a game that already exists. So,
but you can try it out on PS5 now in early access. You can go give it a try if you want to play Fortnite in space. I don't know if it's Fortnite in space.
Fort Space.
Now, here's one I am interested in. That's Tribes of Midgard. I am excited for this game. It might end up being a Swimming in Sevens. That's only for a certain type of person, but I feel like this game is going to be a lot of fun. They detailed things like all the class. They didn't detail every class, but they showed there's going to be 8 different classes to choose from with multiple skill trees and rune powers. They also talked a lot about their post-launch plans with multiple seasons, how they're going to have saga quests, which are these kind of large epic stories that end in a big giant boss fight with new weapons, new loot, new rewards. So their plan is to have seasons, and the first season's going to launch, I think, right with the game. And I had to make this note because I keep forgetting, because it looks just like a complete indie game, but it's being published by Gearbox. So
okay.
And I had forgotten we saw this from them. They talked.
Yeah, it was in their whatever they want to call a conference.
Yeah, their Randy Pitchford-a-thon.
Yeah. But this game comes out in 3 weeks, or actually less than that, closer to 2 weeks.
I'm super jazzed about this game. I think it's
totally forgot about the release date because I was just like, it's just like the first time I saw it, I remember going, oh, poor man's Valheim or whatever.
Yeah.
But then the more we saw of it,
I was like, Valheim.
Yeah, peasant Valheim. But the more we saw of it, I was like, I don't know. It's got like a Diablo flavor that I haven't touched in.
I think it's got a really cool art style. I think it's got some vibrant colors going on with it. They started showing the bosses, and those look like really cool scale boss fights. You know, like it just there was really a lot to chew on since E3.
I feel like, and also I feel like I'm very partial to the games that are going to be fun with my bros. You know what I mean? Like.
Now this is like 8 or 10 people.
It's gonna be a bro. It's gonna be a bro game.
No.
Come on, bros.
Come on, bros.
It's like a huge
Final Fantasy
8 people like multiplayer.
Yeah,
is that what it is?
I think it's up to 10, just like Valheim.
Oh, 10. Okay, wow. Yeah, I'm all about that. I think that's so cool.
It does have roguelike elements too, so I'm curious how they implement those, and hopefully they're not too frustrating, because that can make or break a game for me. If it's too much of a reset when you die, then I lose interest. But
Tim, does it have bro elements or?
It does, because it does. Every time you kill an enemy, your character goes, "Let's go!" like that.
Well, it's a Gearbox. It's Gearbox is touching it, so there's got to be some sort of
there's some sort of dated bro reference going on.
I'm sure that Godfall had that too, right?
Probably. Could ask Derek. I mean,
this next game I thought looked kind of cool. I hadn't heard of it before. It's Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch is what that acronym stands for. I don't know why I didn't just call it Forged in Shadow Torch. Sounds way cooler. Like
Fist. Well, because I mean, he's got a giant fist, so.
Yeah, that's true. I thought this game looked really cool. Of course, it's more talking animals. That's a thing. I don't know if you guys knew that. That's a thing.
It's a Gaston thing.
It doesn't stop, dude.
It's a Gaston thing.
It does not stop. But it kind of had a steampunk, futuristic type of a vibe to it. I thought I liked the action that they showed. It was, it was a sizzle reel, so it was quick. But what they showed, I thought looked pretty cool. I'd be interested in trying this one out. It comes out September 7th. I like the way that one looks. Hunters.
Does it seem like you mentioned it being a sizzle reel, and the fact that it was probably is why I forgot all about this game. But did it look like it would be like a $30, $40 game?
Oh, I was thinking more like 20.
Yeah, but 20, maybe 30 at the most. But
so probably we're trying. Yeah, I'll probably put it on my calendar then, so I can try it.
I think it looks cool. If it reviews well, for sure, I'll get it. If it reviews decent, then I'll grab it on sale. And if it tanks, then I will ignore it. Hunter's Arena Legends. This does not look great, so I'm just going to keep on moving through this one. Do you guys, I don't know if you saw this one, but it had a serious vibe at first, where it was like these serious, it's what if a fighting game met a battle royale, and it kind of had this serious like face-off, and then it goes into some absolutely ridiculous costumes, like a guy with an afro and a big basketball.
And the chicken, there was like a chicken or a rubber ducky mallet or something. Like.
I immediately rolled my eyes and I was like, "Oh, this looks great!" But it's gonna be on PS Plus in August, so
that was a P break game for me.
That's you're not even gonna pause it. You're just gonna let it go.
Roll. I guess.
Just gonna let it go. Oh, I'm not into this.
Sifu looks great. Sifu has a really cool art style. It kind of still gives me Old Boy vibes. Some of those fight scenes. I think it looks difficult, and hopefully it's not repetitive. I put that in my notes that it possibly could be repetitive. So I hope it's not. I hope that the combat just feels right, and I'm okay with fighting the same type of enemies over and over again.
I think with that game, it needs to have really good AI that just kind of keeps you on your toes. Because then if it does, then you got to incorporate all of the different moves and sort of the combat, like just keeping it fresh as you're going through it. Because if he keeps dying and you're kind of repeating or however it is, because he's aging, right? But then
every time you die,
he keeps going through
age.
the loop, right?
And I think that maybe you only have to a certain amount of age, or you can't beat the game.
And then the game uninstalls itself, and then you're done.
Yeah, the game. It's a one-time play. You only get to play it once.
It deletes your save, just like Nier Automata.
At a certain point, it says you're 105, and you're just walking around going,
just whacking with the cane.
Excuse me,
or just yelling at them.
They move
racial slurs at them.
That one of the most annoying things was though it said 2021 and then it flipped and said early 2022.
I didn't like the way they did. They almost did that like it was cute. Like they're like,
big
2022,
deal, right?
That's the kind of thing you do when you have good news or a surprise.
Yeah. Like out now or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You do that graphic and roll it forward, not backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be like, all right, so think back in the day when you wrote the girl that you like a note. Maybe this was just me. And will you be my girlfriend, yes or no? And if she were to hold up a piece of paper that it looks like the box is checked yes, but then you realize she's got like an overhead transparent thing and she slides it over and it actually is checking no.
Sure.
And then she's like, you see what I did? Isn't that funny? No. No,
I'm like the kid in We're the Millers where I'm like, you guys wrote girls' notes?
Tim was a real ladies man, huh?
Yeah, I really was. I got a lot of no boxes checked.
Wow.
All right. Jet the Far Shore has a really, in my opinion, very kind of indie style look to it. A little bit like Ashen with the characters that just kind of like the faceless, blocky. It's a very specific art style. It's not going to appeal to everybody, but I thought that the flying motion where it's all kind of nonstop and smooth looks kind of interesting. But that comes out later this year. They didn't say when. So
it looks like it could be not like relaxing, but it just kind of sort of has a little bit of like a relaxing vibe to it, just kind of flying around,
Because it looks like even your enemy encounters are more about just surviving and escaping than actually trying to shoot everything. You're trying to like scan it and learn about it and explore. So we don't want to kill things.
Talk about a $20 game. This one kind of looked $20 to me.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. I want to see what
it costs $20 to make.
Right? 2 people made it.
I'm just kidding. I thought it looked kind of interesting. Demon Slayer: The Hinokami Chronicles. So I don't know if this is like an existing IP in some.
Yeah, Kyle brought
an anime. It is an anime.
Yeah, anime. Kyle brought it up last week, and Kyle, thank you for reminding me because I was like literally smack dab in the middle of watching it, and then the other day I was like, let me start watching.
Christian metal band, Demon Slayer.
Yes. Exactly. But I was right in the middle of the fight with the dude with they're not bongos obviously, but like the drums that he has like inside of him. Like I was right in the middle of that fight. I was like, oh yeah, I was super into this and I just forgot about it. So,
I'm so happy you went back to it. There's a movie, watch it.
Yeah. It's on Funimation, so I'm gonna watch it.
It
right
is,
after.
You can just stream it. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent first season. Like holy crap.
Just amazing,
I think the game looks interesting. It's clearly, very anime style and all that kind of stuff. It could be, I don't know, the fighting looks like it could be interesting. It's hard to say.
I thought the fighting looked like what they're trying to do in the anime, but like as a game. But like it looked kind of, I don't know, there was something kind of like rough to me about it.
The visuals were a little rough. I agree.
Yeah.
It feels arcadey, but not in like a like in a retro arcade.
I immediately thought the Samurai Jack game that came out last year, where I was like, I'm into this, but it looks a little cheap, but I'm kind of into this,
And that's the thing, like the art style of the actual like when you're watching it and in motion, it's like it's unbelievably beautiful. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
So
that anime is like there are moments in that anime where my jaw was on the ground, and if like the game can recapture that in any way, which it probably won't, just
it doesn't look like
furniture. Buy some furniture for your house. All right, so that comes out October 15th. I think it comes on multiple consoles, but of course this was a Sony state of play, so they're only telling us about PS4 and PS5.
Right.
Sure.
Lost Judgment showed us a new trailer, variety of what I consider to be very Yakuza-like gameplay and mini games and story and characters and.
Oh yeah.
Give me all of it. Oh, I'm so excited.
It looks really great. Like it looks great. It really does. It comes out September 24th. It looks like a high quality game.
Dog walking, skateboarding. Are you kidding me? I'm so in.
You can sick your dog on people? Are you kidding me?
Dude, I haven't walked a dog in a video game since Nintendogs. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how long it's been. So Lost Judgment still has a release date of September 24th. I was glad to see they didn't have to push that back.
Quick turnaround for that game too.
Seems
I feel
like
that the Judgment one just came out like a couple years ago. Just
2019, I think.
That was my first real play of a Yakuza type
this
game.
This is the first entry after the 2 pillars have been announced, where Yakuza 8 will go on being like a turn-based game, but Judgment will continue the
Judgment's Judgment's like the
so
arcade
it's like this
combat,
is this is the first like foray into like what the pillars of Yakuza mean.
If this is a spoiler, then don't answer it. But are those 2 in the same universe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they've said they kind of addressed that with the first one. They're like, it's the same universe, but
Okay, cool. Death Stranding director's cut. So I was gonna skip through this because I was like, I get it. This game is beautiful and it's unique, but I get it. I've tried this game out. I played it for probably 6 or 7 hours, and I like it. I don't love it, but I like it a lot, and it's a gorgeous game. And I was gonna just skip through it, but then they started flashing up on the screen all the descriptions of the new things they're adding, and I don't even think I captured it all. I just jotted down the ones that caught my attention. But I thought this was fascinating. So of course, it's coming out on September 24th, alongside with Lost Judgment, on the PS5. It's gonna have remastered visuals. We knew that. So the visuals and performance is gonna be improved. But they're adding new enemies, new bosses, new weapons. You're going to have new things to interact with in the world, like a AI buddy bot, a cargo catapult. There's racetracks, which I don't know if they were racetracks before, but they're adding.
No.
Super pumped for that.
And new story missions and a whole bunch of other stuff. They're adding so much to this that even if you owned it before, this seems like a version that, especially if you're a big fan of Death Stranding, this seems like a no-brainer.
This is going to be an insane year for me playing a bunch of old games that I wish I had played already.
It seems like they're almost trying to focus a bit more on shooting too, because the first game is not really heavily focused on that.
I don't know how much I killed one guy during my playthrough of Death Stranding, and it was chaotic because you're not supposed to kill people in that game. So I don't know how they're gonna balance that, because it looked like in the trailer there was a lot of shooting going on, a lot of stuff going on. So I'd love to see how they balance that, or how they change that, if they do.
Yeah. I did see, by the way, speaking of Norman Reedus, I did see someone put up a dream cast list on some Facebook group that I'm in of if they ever did Red Dead Redemption 2, and they said he'd be perfect John Marston, and I was like,
yes,
all right, I'm on board with that.
If he can do,
hey, that person was right.
If he can nail the voice, like just
might have to go younger.
It depends on if they're telling the story from the first one or the second.
The Arthur story. I don't know why you wouldn't though. That story is just so cinematic.
The Arthur story is way better than the first game. Whatever.
I mean,
100% it is. Yeah. Oh, by the way, if I had to cast Arthur, I think they picked a pretty stereotypical actor, I thought, for this type of role. And they picked
Brolin.
I'm playing on his name. The guy
I was thinking it's Brolin.
Josh Brolin, right?
Yeah, it was
Josh
Brolin.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, everyone would have picked him. I was thinking more like the guy who played in Longmire, Walt Longmire. I know he's older, but that type of guy where he's just kind of this grizzled cowboy veteran. I know he'd have to be a little older. I think in the game he's supposed to be just under 40. I think they hint at him being in his late 30s, maybe close to 40. But anyway, which is a bummer because I'm 38 and I'm supposed to be the same age as Arthur. Yikes.
Well, I mean, in those years, you died. Like you died if you got diarrhea, for crying out loud. So I mean,
dude, have you seen?
Everybody looked
like hell
because they
didn't take care
of themselves.
Have you seen Dave Chappelle stand up? He talks about how.
That sounds familiar.
You used to get back in the day. You get diarrhea. As soon as you hear that first squirt, you're like, uh-oh.
Oh shit.
I have to rewatch some of his new ones because I watched them one time and laughed, and just haven't gone back to him yet.
Man, so
I've been as far as stand-up goes, I've been on a Bo Burnham kick because he released a new special, and then I went back and watched his old ones, and he's great. I watched the special so many times, dude. Yeah. There's a realness that comes in by the end of the special that'll always knock you down. And especially if you don't relate to it, it's just gonna knock you down and go, oh, that was depressing. His earlier specials from like a few years ago are just nonstop, just jokes, like just so freaking clever. They kill me. We watch them all the time.
All right, so there's your comedy corner with Tim and Jeff.
Here we go. Comedy corner coming soon. Coming soon. Next podcast.
They closed things out with the Deathloop extended gameplay, as promised, and they did show a good amount of it. And I watched probably about 2 minutes without. I was kind of interested. Let me see what they have to say, and then I was kind of done. I just kind of skimmed through to see what else, if there's anything else after this. Nope, there wasn't. So I felt good. And it's not because I don't think Deathloop looks fun. I do. I think it looks interesting. I like the style. I think it has potential to be one of those games that I typically wouldn't enjoy, but maybe I'll enjoy this one. I don't know. But I wasn't. I still, there's something about this game that just doesn't have me super hyped for it. Maybe that's
wild
okay.
To me because you like Dishonored. Like,
well, yeah, because it's the Dishonored guys, right? I don't know why people.
I like single-player adventure games like Dishonored. Yes.
I don't know why people are crapping on this game so hard. I don't know if it just hasn't shown well. Like
Is it a single-player experience?
I mean, well,
that was a campaign mission, right?
This was the best showing I think so far because I think they explained it the best out of all the times they've shown it. At one moment when they bring up the chick that's hunting you, it said either player controlled or AI controlled. So they actually said it. So you don't have to play online then, because if it's AI controlled, it's just gonna be a computer coming at you.
All right, now I'm more interested. So,
but like I think for me it's like got a little bit of like that Returnal, like, you know, rinse and repeat. Like, oh, you messed up or you died, you got caught, now you got to start over. Yeah. I think length will be an issue if the sections are too long, like going through them, and the game's just gonna start getting longer and longer because you're dying and rinsing and repeating. Then that'll be an issue. But if the sections are kind of smaller and easier to get through, but there's a lot of options, then I think it'll be more fun because then you can play around with it a bit more. And it's not going to take you as long to beat the game. But we don't know because they haven't really explained, you know, they haven't really shown a lot. So
I still struggle myself with the scope of it. Like, how long is this sumbitch going to be for real?
Right, because it's like what, eight targets, I think they say.
Which it seems like a lot, you know, especially to figure out how to get them the very first time and then to wrap it into like the final run.
Yeah,
because that's what it's all about. You have to kill all 8 like before like the loop ends, right? It's like it's all about figuring out how to get them all. Again, you can get multiple people in the same areas at the same time to kind of like.
I think it's going to be more playful though, and more accessible than like a roguelike. I don't think we're talking about something that's going to be.
I'm hoping it is, to be honest.
Difficult.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a little more like you take a lot from every run too, maybe like skill wise and power wise or whatever.
Well, they talked about almost like a type of currency that like, because at one point it shows that you die, but then you use some ability you get later on that like. Instead of starting over again, you essentially start like right before that section that just happened, and then it shows him like kill everybody, and then he goes to like where his body died, and he kind of gains some sort of currency to like replenish something. I forget what it was specifically, but
it was some type of ability. I don't even know if they used the ability. It might have been a gun or something like that, or the mine that he laid, a trip mine.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that teleporting is in the game because those Dishonored guys really do that well. I really like the teleporting in those games, dude.
Well, I'm glad you guys told me that there's because in my head I had written this off as a multiplayer only game.
It's just multiplayer.
Yeah. They specified. They said player or AI controlled. So.
All right. Well, now my interest level has gone up. That's good. I'm glad you told me that.
I think it looks decent. I don't think it looks bad. So.
Well, speaking of multiplayer ruining experiences, the next Assassin's Creed title. So we're done with the state of play review. But the next Assassin's Creed title is rumored and now has been confirmed by Ubisoft that it's in development, and they're codenaming it Assassin's Creed Infinity, which isn't a bad name.
Actually, it's not at all. Yeah,
it's very literal.
You could have told me this would be like a future one where they
if
use
it were a future one, and if it were like, hey, by the way, your character can use the Animus to go to multiple settings in history. Now I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect this, and I'm here for it. I love it. You can go back to these different, time periods with different weapons. I love it. A big single player, emphasis on single player story adventure. That's not what this is. This is probably going to have multiple historical settings. They're early in development, but they're saying it's likely to be a live service multiplayer game. And I was like, oh.
I just feel like this is them giving up. Like, this is like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Well, I think we did
top Vikings.
We're not gonna do Japan. Like,
they were like, Ghost of Tsushima.
And we're never gonna do it. So sorry, because we're sticking to our morals.
Samurai.
So we're just I don't know. We're just gonna do some live service game that's gonna go on forever, and you idiots are gonna play it, or you're not. We don't care.
I like to think that the Ubisoft execs had like the first early build of Assassin's Creed Tsushima. And then they saw Ghost of Tsushima announced, and he just threw it in the
Damn it!
garbage.
Yeah, get out of here with that.
What else do kids like? Fortnite, whatever. Let's do it.
That's why this game is coming out in 2025 or something, because that other game was like halfway done already, and they're like, oh no, we gotta throw away Assassins of Tsushima. Like, oh damn it.
I can't stand them. These companies that just try to follow a trend. It's like it's not coming from the heart. It's just a bunch of suits going down.
Is like 10 years old. And
I was about to say
5
that
years
too.
ago. Yeah.
It's not even a trend anymore.
No.
It's just
the
everyday
last
life.
Two
Like, they started
games that tried this,
but they want the money.
Failed.
They want the money. That's all that matters. It's just the green.
So Fortnite and PUBG, these games really hit big in 2017, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or was
Maybe
it 2015?
that, right?
Was it 2015 maybe?
I don't know.
It was somewhere in that range. I want to
Sure,
say someone could probably look it up. By the time this game sees the light of day, I think, Kyle, you're right. They said 2024. I think 2025 is probably more likely, based on how early they're saying it is. This would literally be 10 years behind the times. Like, why would you do this? You're not even close.
And they're already
work for Destiny, which came out in 2012 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Like if they put the finishing touches on the Skull and Bones game, and that I assume that would be more of a live service multiplayer pirating game. At least that's a little closer, I would assume. But I don't know, man. Whatever.
Fortnite, and I think so. What they're gonna do? Like, I think I read that every season is gonna be a different time setting. That's how they're gonna do that.
I don't want this.
Yeah. So like, if I decide not to play for a season and I miss out on all of like whatever world I want to play because my life is busy at that time.
So that's the thing, because Valhalla, for me, obviously Tim thought like a little bit differently, but for me, Valhalla was just too much. It was just way too much. By the time you get to the ending. And then it's like the ending was like, it was kind of an ending, but it was like a cliffhanger. And it's like, I don't want a cliffhanger in a video game that's already like 100 hours. And then you're going to give me DLC that's like another 40 hours. And then another DLC that's another 40 hours. And like, that's what this game's going to be. But it's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean,
I guess I don't understand it from a business perspective also, because didn't like the Greece one and this last Vikings one just sell incredibly well and like review incredibly well? And now they're like, okay, so now we're going to pivot hard.
They're selling.
Odyssey and Valhalla were hits critically, commercially. Doesn't make any sense.
So now we're going to pivot hard into something that there's a lot of disdain for right now. Like there's a lot of like industry-wide disdain for games with a service. It's almost a bad word now. So it's like, I just don't get. I don't get it. I don't know.
Dude, if Avengers can't make it work, and that's the freaking Avengers.
Dude, I mean, the MCU is the biggest thing in the entire world.
I mean, that no offense to the developer, I think that was not the right developer. No offense to them.
Quite true, but still, the IP alone should have been enough to carry it.
Exactly, but they wanted to force down this like weird games, and I don't know. It's super weird to me because they have to be watching all these games fail like at this model.
Did you guys ever play the competitive multiplayer that AC had a couple entries back?
I played it. So I think it was Brotherhood. It was either Brotherhood or
Revelation. I think Revelations had it. Brotherhood
they both did, but I forget which one I tried. I actually thought it was like a little fun for a while, which I'm not super into multiplayer. But then like it got super repetitive because you're basically doing the same thing. Like
it's who can hide in the haystack before the other people and
and you're just going like basically in a circle and like.
But I'm with you. I think I had some interesting things. I remember playing several rounds of that. I was like, oh, this is kind of a cool way to do this. But then they totally ditched multiplayer for these for this more recent kind of whatever they're calling it trilogy. I think they do have a trilogy name for it internally for these three that they just put out.
The Bloated trilogy?
You mean including Origins?
Yeah, it was like Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla were kind of like a 3-part thing that they were doing.
They were all very similar.
I think it was called the Bloated trilogy.
Bloated, yeah.
Well, here we go.
There it is. Oh no, too much value.
I will say that like those games may be a little fluffed for sure.
A little fluffed.
Yeah,
trilogy.
I feel like
remember the rumor that Valhalla would be short? Remember that? That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. They said that too. They were like, cute. We took your criticism from the Greece one and we made this one shorter. And like I ended up halfway through that game. Through Valhalla, and I was like, I had already beaten the Greece one by now.
To be fair, they didn't say shorter. They said it was going to be a smaller map, which I think technically it is.
Oh, okay. Just denser, right?
All right.
Denser.
It's
just denser.
It's denser, but they also the storyline is way longer than.
It's so much longer. Yeah, I just
because you can't really continue it until you go take over almost every area. But So there's that game certainly has its flaws. Odyssey is still my favorite of those three, and I love Origins too.
I like
those two. I like all three of them. I like Valhalla too.
I enjoyed all three.
We'll probably never beat it. Yeah.
But here's hoping that this is just one of their experimental side things. Like we heard about with the Division, they're doing Heartland, which is supposed to also be kind of more of a spin-off and not Division 3. So I'm still hopeful that they're going to do Division 3. They'll do Assassin's Creed, whatever, new setting, single player.
Didn't they release, whenever they did Brotherhood or something, they released a game alongside it that was like, it wasn't good, but it was like Syndicate or something like that.
What?
Like at the same time.
They had the sort of not side scrolling, but the like kind of.
Well, maybe it wasn't Syndicate. It was something else. It was something super glitchy or whatever that didn't get good reviews.
Are you talking about Unity and Rogue came out at the same?
Might be that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And those were once they were fixed up, they were both really good games. But yeah, you're right. Okay. Unity did notoriously have some glitches to it.
Well, and I think Rogue was like, they were like, isn't this? It just feel like a remake for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're like,
I
love this, right?
I
thought Rogue was cool too. Yeah.
Well, it was unique because you played as a Templar.
Yeah.
Yeah, you basically turn on your assassins. Spoiler.
Ooh. Yeah. That's a good premise. Yeah.
It is fun. I like that one a lot. And it actually, you interact with characters from other games. All right. So they did show, I don't know if it was nothing to do with any kind of major presentation. I just saw this. I don't know if you guys saw this.
I saw it too. Yeah.
There's a gameplay overview trailer released for Lord of the Rings Gollum, which is coming out next year. I don't have a ton to say about this. It was a pretty short trailer. It
was like 4 minutes. Yeah.
Directors, producers, somebody was talking about it a little bit, their goals for the game. But they did show a good amount of footage. I just didn't really get a good sense of, okay, when you're controlling Gollum, here's what it looks like, and here's
there was like a 3-second, 4-second clip of him sneaking around, and I'm like, oh, that's gameplay, and then it cut to something else that was like cinematic.
So it said gameplay, not really though. It's more of just kind of another teaser with some gameplay descriptions from one of the creators. But some of the settings they showed look really cool. They showed some of the main characters, like the King of the Elves from Mirkwood, who's also Legolas' father, and so. There's just some cool stuff from the Lord of the Rings lore that they're going to be including. And so while this game is nowhere near the top of my hype list, like it's one of those ones that could be like a dark horse for a game that I end up loving. Who knows? Because I do like a good stealth game. I love when games do stealth right. So
when they announced it, I was like, how is this going to work? And then they said it was a stealth game. And I was like, oh, that's totally brilliant, actually.
Yeah.
That could be good. Yeah.
Yeah. I like a good stealth game. Again, emphasis on a good stealth game.
Yeah,
like I still think Mark of the Ninja is one of my favorite games, a side-scrolling stealth game, and you can attack enemies, and you can kill them, of course, but it's more about traversing the environment, getting past them, or killing them with killing.
I think Naughty Dog does a really good job at gratifying you when you approach it as stealth. Like in Last of Us 2, especially, you're like, oh, that felt freaking good.
Oh,
man.
When you clean through an area with like no gunshots, it feels pretty good.
Dude, there were times when I forget which section it was. I was controlling Ellie, and you're getting through, the whistling tribe, whatever they are. Who are they?
Yeah, the
archers, like the archers, right?
Yeah. It's after you first encounter them, and then you're hiding. And you got to get through a whole big area of them with like jungle trees and stuff. I restarted that section probably 3 or 4 times after getting spotted, because it wasn't that I didn't want to fight. I did like the fighting in that game. I was just determined to get through.
I got stealth. I got through that part stealth. Yeah, that was one part that I was like, they're not going to see me. These.
And I'm talking about ridiculous stuff, like totally prone, crawling on the very edge of the map where the game is stopping you, and I'm just like trying to get through. It's the opposite of what it's like the opposite of what Ellie would actually do. But what are you gonna do? I saw this game revealed. Don't know if this was a brand new announcements. First time I heard about a new Test Drive game, but Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is coming out in 2022.
They announced it last year, I think.
Did they? Okay,
I believe so.
I haven't heard about a Test Drive game in a long time. So I thought
this is a really fun series. I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's usually like open world. It's like Forza Horizon before Forza Horizon was.
Oh,
the thing. Yeah.
I remember playing Test Drive back on like a Windows 95 computer or something.
Yeah, that's the old ones. But this Unlimited series is like the huge open world, like always online, almost car MMO. Like it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that one, and the trailer was just cinematic, but still, it's kind of cool that that's on the way next year. TV show related, they did announce season 2 of The Witcher now is going to hit Netflix December.
There's a trailer too.
The trailer was good.
So I believe that's 2 years to the month after the first season came out. Because first season I think was also in December.
I do think season 3 is going to come faster, especially since COVID and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Shooting schedules have adapted.
I didn't.
So that's definitely why they put it on hold.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of the WitcherCon stuff, but I saw something like a headline about like DLC for The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Witcher
3 is getting like TV show, DLC.
There's going to be, and I don't think it's
wild.
I don't think it's going to be, and I could be wrong. I don't think it's going to be like a ton of content. I think it's more about a few additional things because they're putting out like next gen console versions of The Witcher 3.
Right.
So it's going to be like a next gen upgraded version, which I am excited for that because it's one of my favorite games of all time.
Another game.
I imagine it will be like a couple missions and like mostly aesthetics, like play as Henry Cavill, and
they might actually have a Henry Cavill skin you can switch to.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like you put on a Henry Cavill like skin suit.
I'll play a Superman Witcher.
Maybe it'll be a full-fledged like the first DLC they put out, which was like an 8 to 10 hour, not the huge one, but the middle
Blood
one.
and Wine, but the other one.
Blood something, Bloodstone or Stone.
Blood and Stone, yeah, Blood and Stone.
No, there was Blood and Wine and something Stone. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
It's Blood. Anyway, I liked this show. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. It was definitely not the worst video game adaptation I've ever seen by any stretch. And I am intrigued to see season 2.
You should be praising it more. I'm really uncomfortable with this slight negativity towards the show.
I kind of love
it.
Yeah.
No, I think they made some interesting, but in the end, after watching the second time, in the end, some flawed decisions on the way they did the storytelling
timeline issue. Yeah.
And I think that works in a certain I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the IP is just too new. But you're trying to introduce a totally new world with new rules about everything and new characters, and then you tell in the end, pretty disjointed story, although a very interesting one, a very well acted one. It looked really great. And I did not think Henry Cavill would be good, but I love him in that role. I think he's great. And so I overall really enjoyed the show. I watched it a second time, so I definitely enjoyed it.
That's a good point.
But I felt like I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it because it doesn't really reveal toward the ends of the first season where there's just a timing difference with some of the stories that you're seeing.
Well, I was going to ask because I know it's more based off the books instead of the game.
It is, yeah.
I believe.
It's way more leaning into the books than the games.
Although
the games kind of take place after the books.
People have interviewed the author and he doesn't want anything to do with either book or the game.
Yeah. That guy's like got sour grape for days about everything.
Yeah. So. He doesn't like the game. He hates video games. Doesn't care about the show.
I only got paid $2 million for my property. I remember there was a whole thing. I'm like, dude, you're a millionaire now because
can I have it then?
What do you mean? Like your books were like Czech, like folklore that no one read outside of there, and like now it's a worldwide commodity.
Now people recognize your name, and it's not a normal name. Like it's a weird name.
Come on. Who's the other guy who did like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and like he's the same way. Yeah. Where he's just like, I hate all of my, comic book movies, and I'm like, well, no one read your stuff, either until your movies came out, and now I don't know, whatever.
Yep. Artists are gonna be artists.
Yeah.
So this last piece of news I thought was cool. A Plague Tale: Innocence, of course, is going to be coming on It is now on PS5.
It is now on, yeah.
I have it downloaded and ready to play on my.
That was the
PS5.
other one. It's also that's one of the cloud versions on Switch. That's what I was thinking of. So
okay.
That's on Switch, but it's only a cloud version, and so that, of course, is going to take away from the experience. In general, the vibes I'm getting from some of the reviews that I've read, or at least the impressions that I've read, are if you don't have any other way to play it, the Switch cloud version is good if you've got a decent connection. It's fine. You're going to have some dips in frame rate, and it just won't look as great. But if you have a choice, get a PC, or now it sounds like the PS5 is the definitive way to play this game.
Yes, please get the PS5 version. Just get a PS Plus.
Because
it's free.
It's on PS Plus.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just
so it's got faster load times, audio enhancements. The big changes though are going to be all about that dual sense controller.
Oh my god, it's unbelievable.
Oh, I bet it's crazy. Oh my god, I didn't think about that.
And 3D sound.
I did the prologue in chapter 1, and I'm already like, dude, this controller. How does
the slingshot feel with the DualSense? Like, does it feel like you're actually
in chapter 1? You only get to play with the slingshot like once when you're with your dad.
Okay.
And then after that, you're on the run and you're throwing stones. Right. So there's really not. Okay. I didn't really get to play with it a whole lot in terms of like crafting fire and stuff like that.
I'm curious if it has the sensation of you kind of like spinning something.
Yeah,
that would be crazy. That would be really cool.
Not that I noticed, but I have to play it more, obviously. But I was really impressed with it right off the bat. It's really impressive for being not a huge AAA game to be pulling this off.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's close things out with stuff that we are watching and or playing. And I'm actually going to look at the bottom of the list first because I'm curious about I Think You Should Leave, because this is something that I've kind of had on my radar but haven't checked out.
This is like, it's the most not up everybody's alley comedy.
Yeah. It's going to alienate a lot of people. Like, in the first 5 or 10 minutes of this show, like, you're either in or you're out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
The whole sketch, there's a whole sketch where he's like, he doesn't give his what is it? It's a gift receipt sketch. You know what I'm talking about, Kyle? Where he accuses Stephen Yeun.
That's from the first
Walking
season,
Dead. It's from season 1.
Yeah.
And he's like accusing him of not wiping his hair after taking a crap. So that's why he won't.
Also, it's like a sketch show.
Yeah, it is like a sketch show with like Tim and Eric, like Eric Andre type. Crazy, schizophrenic, ADHD, almost like type humor, you know. It's just like it's nutty, you know.
So freaking funny though. Oh my god. Again, to me, but because
it's definitely the mileage will vary on this one, but I'm a huge fan as well. I think it's
an acquired taste.
It is, yes. It's I wouldn't call it sophisticated, but it's comedy.
The whole haunted house sketch from this new season is
so
like the least sophisticated sketch I've ever seen. It's so freaking funny. We can say anything we want. Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, it's
so good, I do. You are making me kind of want to give this a try because I've seen it.
The episodes are only like 17 minutes, so it's like it's really easy for you to like dip your feet in, see a few sketches, and go, I don't know if this is for me or
you gotta be in the right mood too. I couldn't be in a real serious, tired mood.
Maybe come home and in a goofy mood. Like, I feel like I'm laughing at a lot right now.
I'll definitely be watching season 2 again because I watched season 2 for the second time before season 1 a second time before season 2 came out, and I was like, damn, I should have revisited this sooner because I could have used all the laughs.
Well, another show that I hear gives a ton of laughs. I hear it's hilarious, and that's Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. Maybe not for the right reasons. I'm kidding. Maybe it's good. I don't know. Who's watching this, and what do you think about it?
I was gonna say, speaking of acquired taste, so it's only 4 episodes, which I didn't even. I literally didn't know if it was going to be a movie, a show until like pretty recently. And I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be a show. Cool. And then like when I started watching, I was like, this is only 4 episodes and each episode is only about 25 minutes. So it's like, it's not even like, it's not even because it's like really about an hour total. So it's like, or no, I guess actually a little longer. Yeah. So
it's like
a short feature length.
Yeah. But either way, it's still pretty just short overall because it's only 4 episodes.
Is this the Resident Evil show that has the super woke casting?
No, that's the movie. That's the actual new like rebooted.
I think it's a live action. Well, and then there's the Wesker kids. I think is the woke one.
Oh, this is the animated one.
Yeah, this is the animated one.
So, okay.
The like CG anime. Well, not like hand drawn, but like CG.
Yeah.
So it's got
almost
Leon.
Like gameplay cinematic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So it's.
I mean, for a show called Infinite Darkness, and it's only 4 episodes long, an hour and a half total. I mean, that's. I don't know, man.
Tim, there's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of darkness, though, Tim. There's a lot of. You
can't see a single frame.
There's a lot of suddenly the lights get turned off, and it's like, what's going on? It's like, well, we know what's going on. Zombies are about to come out of nowhere, so.
Yeah.
So this adventure, it basically is revolving around Leon and Claire. So they're the two from, the main cast that are involved in the show. Much like Resident Evil 2, the game, though, they don't really cross paths very often. They basically meet at the White House the one time, and then like basically right at the end when shit hits the fan. So the set pieces, as far as like when they're fighting the zombies, is like pretty decent, but it's just very short because again the episodes are pretty short. Mm-hmm. So like the action's pretty much over before you know it. I mean, if you love Resident Evil and like you just get the cheese factor, and you're fine with it and you even enjoy it, it's an enjoyable watch. It's not gonna like blow your mind or anything, but I still enjoyed it for what it was.
Was like the story at least good? Like, did it move anything forward lore wise? Or
so it definitely takes place after 4. because like even like the president, like from basically that time frame is in the show, and he even looks at like the frame picture of what is it, Ashley? So like it's right after 4. I don't know if it's before 5, but it's definitely after 4. And at the very end of the show, there definitely is like a reference towards, I guess, one of the later group bioterrorist sort of groups in the whole overarching. It's hard to keep track of like all these different bioterror groups that start showing up later in the series. I feel like there's like 7 of them.
Resident Evil 6 is just kind of a battle royale of like different names and like acronyms and stuff like that.
Even at the end of 8, it's like Chris is doing this thing and like then something happens without being too specific. Like then it's like suddenly this group that you thought was fine is like doing some shady stuff potentially. So it's like, all right, what's going on here? Like what is everybody doing? Like I don't understand. But so there's like a little bit of hints of that. So I think that's supposed to sort of tie into one of the games that, obviously we've already played because this is taking place in the middle of like the timeline, the overarching timeline. So, but like, I love the main cat. Like for me, like I didn't hate Ethan, or I don't hate Ethan, but like, for me, for some reason, it's just, I have that nostalgic attachment to like Chris, Leon, Jill, and who am I missing? Chris, Leon, Jill, and Claire. Sorry, there we go. Like those 4 main for me are like the main people that I like to follow in the series. So, when they kind of deviated from Ethan, it's like, okay, whatever, fine. I guess I'll follow Ethan. But yeah, it's an enjoyable watch if you just like Resident Evil as a whole. If you're just some random person stumbling across it, you might kind of be like, this is a little corny. I'm all set.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I feel the same way about, I'm watching through Mythic Quest. I don't think it's necessarily a comedy show for everyone. Like there's going to be, if you like video games, like obviously we do, if you're listening to the podcast, what's wrong with you if you don't like video games and you're listening to a video game podcast? But I'm fascinated by the video game industry. I love playing little mini games like Game Dev Story or Game Dev Tycoon. Dude, I love that kind of stuff.
I love Game Dev Story.
Yeah, and Game Dev Tycoon's just as good, if not a little better too. I recommend it. But that being said, I don't think this show is necessarily for everyone. But some folks who don't care about video games might still like it because it's got, in my opinion, it's got enough little touches of Always Sunny because it's created by a lot of the same people. It's got enough touches of Silicon Valley. There's some connections there too. It's got enough touches of those two things that even if you're not really into video games, you might enjoy it. I just think if you're a big fan of video games, especially like you understand some of the references and they talk about, the World of Warcraft stuff or how Ubisoft makes their games. Like, I don't know, there's something about knowing the industry and loving it that makes me really enjoy this, probably more than I normally would.
What I think helps me enjoy it is the commitment they have to getting it right.
Yeah,
because I think they did so much research with Ubisoft. They did so much research.
Ubisoft
on, like, how does this work in the industry?
Produce it, right? Doesn't Ubisoft?
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
But the writers like specifically were like, we want to get all the industry stuff right. Like we can't just blurt stuff out like, well, you got to fix it. And, in the UI or whatever, like it doesn't make any, like just say words.
It actually makes sense.
Like, well, they talk about, they have these like higher ups of this major company be very just kind of like basic people who are talking about stuff just like we do, except they're the ones who get to make the decision to include it or not. So they're not like, I don't know. I like it. I like the caricatures. I do find that, some of them are such psychopaths. They can be unlikable, especially early on. But as the show progresses, they do a better job of giving them a little bit of humanity and making them likable.
I think they hit a different note. Did you get to the pandemic special?
I did.
I think they hit like a different note in writing in that episode. Yeah. And then it just carried on. Like I just understood the characters like way better after that episode.
That definitely helped. That was pretty funny too. I like how they did that one. Actually, that's the last one that I watched. So I'm just getting ready to start. I have one more special episode.
And then I watched it. It was like dead center in the pandemic. Like it was summer. Things
good
were
timing.
Yeah. So I watched it, and I that episode hit me really hard, like really hard. The ending of it is just really good.
The first season's good. I do think they struggle with making characters likable because they're trying to all be so crazy and so funny. And then when they interact with other companies, like there's one character who's getting recruited by another game development company, and that guy's just so normal that you kind of see like, oh, these people are all psychos, man. All of them are psychos.
They all have big egos. Yeah,
it's like in Parks and Rec with like the main cast are like they're relatively a little like kind of like not right in the head, but just like a little bit, and then you have like the citizens of Pawnee, and you're like, oh my god, like what's wrong with these people? Like
that is what made sorry, this is a slight rabbit trail here. Having watched through the show The Office probably like 7 times. I don't know how many times. I've watched through it a million times. It feels like. I feel like there was a shift in the last couple seasons where they made all the characters a little too wacky, and there was a moment. There was some moments like when they had Angela start licking her cats and stuff. That took it from like a fun show that could happen in a real office where you've got a wacky boss and a few characters, but they're mostly normal, bored people. And it just made them all like Stanley was crazy and Kevin was crazy and everyone was crazy. Even Jim at times they made him a little crazy. Like it was like, okay, this show's losing its magic. So anyway, sorry, that's a little side rabbit trail there. But I want to say this about Mythic Quest. It's not necessarily a show that everyone will love, but I do recommend if you're going to give it a try, if you've got your Apple TV Plus subscription, give it a try. And I would say if you can make it through, and I know people say this all the time for shows, so I'm sorry, but this is the kind of show where you have to, in my opinion, you have to make it through episode 5 and maybe even into episode 6. And that's I know that's 2/3 of the way through the first season, but that's where it started to really click for me. And now I'm like hooked, and I want to start flying through it.
And then they have the you're about to bring it up.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the
episode.
Standalone episode that could have been one of those surprising Black Mirror episodes that doesn't really have a dark twist. The Black Mirror has a couple of those, but it gave me that same vibe.
Yeah.
Maybe if they had a darker element to it at the end, it definitely could have been a Black Mirror.
It was like the life cycle of a game developer, basically, was that standalone episode. It was so freaking brilliant.
You've had 4 episodes of Mythic Quest. You're learning about these characters and kind of the egotistical creator and the insecure executive director and the angsty programmer. And so you're learning all these characters, and all of a sudden episode 5 starts, and it's called A Dark Quiet Death. And you don't see any of those characters except for one until a short post-credit sequence. Everyone else in the entire episode is a brand new character you haven't seen, and it's a completely encapsulated start to finish story. And it features, I'm blanking on his name, he did Spider-Man's voice.
Jake Johnson and Kristen Milioti.
Yeah, and she was in an episode of Black Mirror.
She was in the Star Trek one.
Which is an amazing episode of,
That's a great
of Black
episode.
Mirror. But it's just it's a sweet and tragic story of the creativity versus the commercial approach to all this. It was just, I thought it was so good. A lot of what ifs, like if only this had happened, then maybe, and then later at the end of season 1, there's a pretty cool callback to that.
I love the way that they tied it in.
Yeah.
It was so brilliant to me.
Surprisingly
and there is
sweet.
another, I think it's episode 6 in season 2. There's another there's another standalone episode, and they tie it in just beautifully to the present day stuff. So I mean, it's, oh my god, dude,
I love it.
The show just hits different notes
I'm
for
hooked.
me.
I mean, it's not like it didn't skyrocket to like, oh, this is one of my favorite comedies ever, but it's one I'm really into right now, and I'm really enjoying it. I still, when it comes down to it, I'm still more of a Parks and Rec, Office, and honestly, Ted Lasso is one of my favorite comedies.
Ted Lasso's great, dude.
I freaking love Ted Lasso.
It's like a week or so, right?
Yeah, the new season comes out 2 weeks from today. But that's such a happy show. I mean, holy cow.
It is, man. It's and the world needs shows like that, or characters like that, where they're just like not innocent, but like naive to a fault.
Sort of, but he's also smart.
Or he's like, he's overly optimistic, though.
He's optimistic, and what I like is that things don't necessarily go over his head, and he's a total idiot. But sometimes they go over his head, but that's okay. I don't know. I really, he's not Michael Scott. Like he's lovable. He's very lovable and very selfless, but also, as you learn, has flaws. I don't know, man. I love it. I love
Michael Scott is lovable. What are you talking about?
And
Scott's Tots. Hey, Michael Scott. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Make
puts his head on the desk.
Oh man, he's lovable in a I never want to work for, with, or interact with.
I don't know, dude.
I'm at a barbecue.
I wouldn't mind a boss like that. I would not mind a boss like that. I'm not even gonna lie. That'd be
all right, we need to wrap up the show. I know we're not going to close it out, but we need to close with these 2 things. These are 2 of the main things I wanted to talk about.
Right.
This episode. So however much time it takes to get through these, I really want to talk about these. The first one being Black Widow, which I think only Jeff has seen out of all of us, right?
I have seen as well. I just saw like 2 hours ago.
Oh, awesome. So I'm going to get Kyle and Jeff's thoughts on Black Widow. Of course, we'll keep it spoiler-free, everybody. Don't worry.
Yep.
And then also give our thoughts on Monster Hunter Stories 2. If you've at least played the demo lets you play a lot, or if you've bought it and played it.
I have downloaded the demo.
Okay, well, let's start with Black Widow. I want to hear what you guys think. It's been it's been a minute since we've had a major Marvel movie.
Dude, yeah. And I saw it in the theater last night. I couldn't wait. And I think Kyle watched it on let's just say he watched it on TV, okay?
Let's just say I watched it on TV. Let's just
don't worry about it.
I was going to say Disney
Plus.
Plus.
Watch on TV and don't worry about it.
I totally watched it. I own Disney Plus, and that's all I'm going to say.
There you go. There you go.
I subscribe every month.
I was able to watch it at home. I subscribed to Disney Plus. Those are my 2 statements.
Yeah, I watched Pirates of the Caribbean first, and then I watched Black Widow.
Beyond that, I plead the fifth. But
it's just that was my first time, not in the theater, but obviously being back in the theater for a Marvel movie since Far From Home. So I mean.
That's the last one that released in theaters, man. That was
it was. And there was a point, and that was in 2019. That's so long ago.
Which, by the way, everyone who complains and isn't a comic movie fan, like, I'm tired of all these comic book movies. Dude, it's been a while. So
it's been so part of the zeitgeist for so long.
On the hate. Yeah. Tough. It makes no sense to me to be tired of something that
before you get into some of the details of this, I kind of want overall, and I know, Kyle, you're right off of it, and even if you see a bad movie at home, then it can feel like it was better right away, and then maybe after you think about it. So I want your total objective opinions. Was this a good, great, mediocre entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Is this up there with the best of the best? Is it kind of in the middle of the pack? What is this?
I think it's in the middle, but like
middle of the pack, yeah.
It's like upper middle though. It's not.
Yeah. I think that with enough time that's gone by or whatever, I was so excited, and that doesn't like feed into I just liked it because I was so starved for it. It's such a action-packed like adventure that it's really delivering what we're all here trying to watch like Marvel movies for, and it's just like crazy action, ridiculous moments, great comedy, new characters. Like it's just I think it hit all the notes that they were trying to hit. And I think the notes feel all the much sweeter that there was like a 2-year kind of break or whatever, a 1.5 break or whatever between the last movie and this movie.
Even if that was not their intention, obviously, to do it that way, to delay it that long, it kind of felt like I mean, we probably should have waited that long anyway. Like it just.
I think we all could have used a year, off of Marvel, but like.
And Endgame was love it or hate it. I know some people hated it for whatever reason. It was a very dramatic and very epic conclusion to a long string of Marvel movies. And then Far From Home was, I thought, a fantastic epilogue.
It was a coda. It was certainly a coda.
I can't imagine anyone hating Endgame. That seems insane.
Yeah. Some people do.
I know. I know people in my life who hate that movie. But
stop talking to them, Kyle. Stop.
They're toxic, and I hate them.
There are folks who actually they would have preferred it to end with Infinity War. Like, let that be the long pause. Let that sit with everybody.
Sure.
Well, then they have to wrap it up, but like with Endgame. So,
Endgame would eventually come out anyway.
I don't know. I agree. I think the long pause between Endgame and Infinity War would have been kind of cool, but
Okay, but tell me about Black Widow. What were some of the highlights, the lowlights? I mean, is it weird? Is it weird knowing the fate of Scarlett Johansson's character?
There were some parts where like she was threatened, and I was like, I feel nothing.
Yes, yeah, right, yeah, that's prequelitis right there. So like, she's in a lot of moments where you're like, there's no way she's getting out of this, but she has to because this takes place right after Civil War. So
what would be more interesting if she were faced with some moral dilemma where she could do something horrible? That'd be more interesting because now you're like, maybe she did this thing.
And there are elements of that where it's just like, she's was up to some shit, at some point. So.
They cover something she did in her past to be initiated into S.H.I.E.L.D., and it involved like one of her last tough decisions to make on a moral. From
and
moral.
It ties into a greater Marvel mystery that we've been hearing about, and like they do a really good job tying it all up. And this is not a spoiler, but Jeff and I were talking earlier, and it feels like this movie was as much a Florence Pugh origin story, whatever Alana, I think her name is, as well as a Black Widow movie. And the dance that they pull off with being both of those things at the same time is very elegant, and I think they pull it the F off big time. So
and she's the young actress, right?
She's the young actress. Yeah,
she's Yelena, the Yelena version of Black Widow. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Who is a real Black Widow character in the comics?
Yeah. So this, I was gonna say there was a moment in the theater that like, it's not a spoiler. It's in the trailers. Taskmaster's in this movie,
right?
And there's the first fight that they have with Black Widow, And Task, like, there's a part where Black Widow tries to rope him up into the ceiling, like using one of her little handy rope things, and he cuts it in midair and does like a flip back at her, and I'm like, Marvel movies are back, baby! Like, I was
yeah. Start fist pumping, like
right. Everything Taskmaster was doing was just like Marvel movies, baby, Like, it was just so cool.
I thought the choreography, the fight choreography, is amazing. I thought the set pieces were awesome. I thought that they really nail the action in this movie, and if that's what you're there for, like, you're definitely gonna get that. For sure.
The action reminded me of, I was telling Kyle this a lot, like some people on like Twitter and stuff were comparing it to like Bond, but I think it's more like Mission Impossible.
Very
like the
so.
set pieces are so big.
It feels like Mission Impossible for sure.
Yeah, and there's like reveals and stuff that they do that are very much textbook Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah,
that you're like, ooh,
literally directly from Mission Impossible.
I love Mission Impossible reveals. Yeah. I know people hate them, and I know 2 is considered like one of the worst.
Oh, dude, there's like 6 masked ripoffs. Like,
I love that. I love that. There's like, oh no.
Yeah. In Mission Impossible 2, there's so many. It's
absolutely. David Harbour is a total like show stealer for me as well.
Oh yeah,
him playing Red Guardian, like, he is just having the time of his freaking life in this movie. Like, Rachel Weisz.
I've never related to. This is going to sound tragic, but I've never related to somebody more because he is just trapped in his glory years of like he's aged and he's you know he was a certain role for Mother Russia and he's not anymore. So all he does is talk about when he was the star of Mother Russia, like the entire time. Yeah. And I'm like, God, I feel that. That was like me, like, you know, my 20s, where I'm like, yeah, man, I used to do this, and it's not a thing anymore, dude. You have to put yourself up to it.
He's got such a cool physical presence on screen. Like in Stranger Things, every scene he's in, he just has a presence there, you know. So I could see him doing a good job in this role too.
Every part of that Black Widow family, you know, of course Scarlett Johansson, who we already know, 8 movies or however many she's been in. But everybody has like a quirk. Like Yelena is like doesn't put up with anybody's BS. Like her one-liners are just like she's just fed up with every scenario. It's really fun. Yeah. And then you have David Harbour, who is like super like delusional with his past. And then Rachel Weisz plays like a nerd. She's like super nerdy. I didn't expect that at all.
Rachel Weisz, she's cute. She's
a
pretty gal.
She's a hell of an actress, and everyone who's doing like accents in this movie, and this is coming from like a white American, are nailing it. I think they're all very fun and very like.
I
think Kyle also thought that Dick Van Dyke did a great job with his Cockney London.
Yeah, absolutely. And John Wayne, when he played a Chinese person, you know, good times. Yeah.
By the way, that picture behind you, Jeff, of Scarlett and Florence. Just at a glance, maybe it's the angle, but Florence is she pretty jacked? Like, look at how thick her neck is. She looks strong. Look at her.
She does look tough. She does look tough.
She's dating Zach Braff from like Scrubs, and I listen to the Scrubs podcast. And she often talks about like her like workout regimen, and like she got jacked for this movie for sure. Man.
Yeah,
she's stout. You know, she really works on it.
She's got straps. Jeez.
She is definitely, my takeaway was like, I can't wait to see more of her because she was like the funniest. She was definitely hands down the funniest part of the movie.
She is getting great reviews, even though the movie getting mixed ones, but she's getting great reviews.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see her and Tony in a room. Oh, oops. Sorry.
Oh, Kyle.
Sorry. God, sorry. Damn it.
Her and maybe Rocket?
That's all right. All right. Well, that's a good way to wrap up our Black Widow impressions, guys. But I do plan on watching it. Don't know if I'll watch it at home, wink, or if I'll watch it in theaters at some point.
I think it's worth just to experience the Marvel phenomena again.
That's what I'm thinking.
I know that there are people that are like, to be honest. As soon as I mentioned Black Widow, people were just automatically pre-hating it, even though they hadn't seen it yet. And I'm like, you should probably see it.
You guys should probably really watch it because I don't know, it's been fun. I don't know if you've been liking these movies, if you've hated them for a while now, like cut it out, like stop giving them money.
They could have literally have taken a 10-year break and then this came out. That people would still be like, too many comic book movies. It's like, all right, like what do you want?
Agreed.
I don't know.
All right, well, we're going to wrap things up with our thoughts on Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin. Now, I'm not expecting that. I don't know if any of you guys have tried it yet. I put a good amount of time into it so far. My daughter, actually. It's usually my son, Shepard, and I. He's my gaming buddy. But it's actually my daughter. Her name's Nev, and she loves this game. Loves it.
Nice.
So I pretty much have lost my Switch, is what I'm trying to tell you. I wasn't planning on buying it. I was planning on just trying the demo, playing as long as they let you, and then maybe getting it on sale. But she tried the demo, and then, listen, if you're listening and you're a dad, especially a dad of a daughter, and she looks at you and kind of goes, Dad, and I'm like, all right, I'll buy it.
I mean, don't have to pull my leg or my arm.
I am weak. So anyway, but this game is really, really cool. Have you guys played it at all, even the demo yet?
No,
it's so hard on my radar, but no, I haven't gotten to it.
Give it a try because it's a free demo, and if you do end up liking it, demo progress carries over. But it's got this really cool opening cinematic. It's one of those moments where you're like, this is on Switch, right? Because it just looks really good. I thought the anime looked really nice in this one. The music production sounds so good, and musically is really pretty. So I think they did the production value on this. They didn't half-ass it, which a lot of times the spin-offs you're like, oh, did they do their best here? They really did. I think they did a good job.
That Monster Hunter budget.
Yeah, I mean, they're using that money that they clearly are making. The visuals, I think, have a pretty simple anime style, nothing that'll blow you away. You've seen the trailers and the screenshots, but I think the way they've decided to build this makes it work really well on the Switch. And I have watched some videos of the PC version, and it looks really pretty on the PC. So Switch, it runs smoothly, and you'll be able to play it, and it's portable, and that's how my daughter's going to play it. But if you've got a nice PC, it can run it looks really nice on the PC. I think it's a pretty cool story, like this lore of these monster hunters that are coming in against this native tribe that are more about taming and riding the monsters, who they call monsties, which at first is annoying, but you get used to it.
Monsties.
It centers on this mythical Rathalos who's got these wings of ruin, and I don't want to give too much away. There's just some cool stuff that happens there with some of the existing monsters in the Monster Hunter universe. It's mostly fully voice acted. There's a few text-only parts, but most of the voice acting is pretty good. It's at least up to par with what you'd expect from an anime show or game. Some of it's got that cheesy Saturday morning cartoon moment here and there, but mostly good. Silent protagonist though, which still kind of bugs me.
Oh, really?
When they'll say something to you and your protagonist just kind of goes, You know what I mean? It's like, well, what was that? That was nothing.
It's that Link nonsense.
So you get to design your main character, pick boy or girl. You have a few options, hair color and style, stuff like that. But it's all about these monsties. And basically what you're doing is you're catching monsters that you would recognize from the Monster Hunter series. And I shouldn't say catching them. You're actually getting eggs and then hatching them. And then they build a connection to you as a rider because you're getting trained as a rider. Combat's pretty traditional turn-based RPG. It's not like Monster Hunter. So you've got lots of leveling up. You are fighting beside your AI partner as well as potentially another rider who sometimes is on missions with you with their monstie too. So, and you can swap them out. It's kind of little Pokemon-esque. Well, not like Pokemon so much. There's other games where you'll have pets that you raise and level up, but then they act on their own in the battles. That's kind of how this works. And so it's got a very kind of rock, paper, scissors approach. You have power, tech, or speed attacks, and different ones overpower the other ones, So like, I think speed beats power beats tech beats speed, something like that. So it's got some of those elements to it that make the combat, I thought, surprisingly in depth and fun, but not so complicated that someone like my daughter couldn't figure it out. It's very color based. It's very clear. And
sounds like Fire Emblem a little bit, right? Isn't that like a 3-pronged sort of thing?
Yeah,
so you explore an open area. I shouldn't say open world, but you explore open areas. You engage with the monster in a very turn-based RPG style, and then if you're attacking each other, then that rock paper scissors thing goes into effect. So you can always see who the enemy monster is targeting, and then if you target them at the same time, then that's when the rock paper scissors thing happens. So lots of cool, double and team up attacks and kinship attacks with your monster as you build your kinship with them. I just think it's really cool. It's a surprisingly deep RPG game for the summer, if that's what you're looking for. Tons of stuff to upgrade and equip and all that stuff. So I highly recommend it if you like turn-based RPGs and you're cool with the anime style visuals and storytelling. Then
this guy
100%.
Yeah, I'm all in. Those are big sells for me.
100% recommend it.
So. I've never been into the Monster Hunter series, so I'm just gonna have to try the demo and see how I respond.
Do it. Yeah, try the demo. It's one of those things where once you get your first egg and hatch it, you've kind of got an idea of how the combat works and all that. And if you're not digging it, then great, you've saved yourself $60. But
right, that's what I love about demos, dude. I wish more titles did that, honestly.
All right, well, we're gonna wrap this episode up. Thank you guys for hanging out so late. Sorry, I was a little late. Sorry, Derek, you weren't here. We miss you, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Do we miss him?
Well, Daniel misses him.
Okay, fine. Yeah. All right.
All right, guys, have a good week. We'll see you.